and Overseas Aid. Minister.
Mr Davis, it's a tremendous pleasure, and indeed the first time that I have appeared before you in one of these debates. And of course, this is a subject which you and I have discussed many times over the last 10 or 15 years together. So I know that you take a great interest in it. But my pleasure at appearing before you is exceeded only by the pleasure at being able to respond to the Honourable Lady, with whom I have many interactions and whom, as she knows well, I agree with on a very large amount of what she says, never more so than today. And I pay tribute to her both for securing this debate and also for the work that she does on the International Development Committee, together with the membership of that committee, which, as she well knows, is widely regarded as amongst the most expert of any committee that sits in the Houses of Parliament. I look forward to giving evidence to her committee in September as part of its inquiry into the important matters we are discussing today. And if I don't answer in sufficient detail some of the points that she has made today, I know perfectly well that she will pursue me on that when I appear before her committee. May I also thank her for what she said about the work of British diplomatic missions overseas, and I will pass on to the missions her generous words, which I know they will appreciate. And can I also underline the point that was at the heart of much of what she said, that as a result of the reduction in the ODA budget from 0.7 to 0.5, there were incredibly difficult decisions which had to be made. They imposed an enormous strain on what are now, but weren't then, my officials, and in following the will of Parliament that it should be cut, many extraordinarily difficult decisions were made. But I think today we are in a better position than we were, and I hope that will become clear in what we have to say next week in some of the reporting back to Parliament that we will be making. Mr Davis, every woman and girl should have control over her own body and her own life. She should be able to make informed decisions about sex and whether and when to have children. She should have access to good quality sexual and reproductive health services and be able to realise her rights. This is far from the case for too many women in too many countries. And this is why universal access to comprehensive sexual and reproductive health and rights forms an important part of the British government's approach to development and diplomacy. Our commitment to promoting these rights is set out in our strategies on international development, global health, and women and girls, and it is a central element of our approach to ending preventable deaths of mothers, babies, and children. And yet we face many challenges in achieving our aims. Global progress on reducing maternal death rates has stagnated between 2016 and 2020, even before the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is why I am championing our efforts to help end the preventable deaths of mothers, babies, and children by 2030. This campaign joins up efforts right across the system, from water, sanitation, and hygiene to good nutrition, from clean air and access to new health technologies to a supportive environment for sexual and reproductive health and rights, as she set out so clearly in her speech. Let me now turn to the worrying trends that are putting the progress we have made on sexual and reproductive health and gender equality at risks. Attempts to roll back the rights of women, girls, and members of the LGBT+ community are increasingly well-funded and well-organised. We are determined to confront this. Britain is a proud champion for these hard-won rights. We continue to promote and protect them around the world, working closely with our allies, including in the multilateral sphere. We must challenge the lies, polarisation and division that are undermining that progress. So this is why the UK led a landmark joint statement at the UN Third Committee last October, along with 71 global partners. We committed to work tirelessly to advance gender equality and to support the rights of all women and girls. And at this year's Women Deliver conference in Kigali, the UK will help catalyse united action to resist this rollback on women and girls' rights and to further gender equality. There is much to do, but there is cause for hope, and the UK has a key role to play. I turn now to another challenge which we face, which is reduced domestic government funding for sexual and reproductive health and rights, prompted by the COVID pandemic and crises around the world. We know the UK's official development assistance has also reduced. The government's policy remains to get back overseas spending to 0.7 when the economy allows. But in the meanwhile, we are doing as much as we possibly can to find multipliers to help enhance and augment our own taxpayers' money. And we've set a strong pathway towards this through our strategies on women and girls and ending preventable deaths. We remain a key supporter of sexual and reproductive health and rights with a significant portfolio of programmes and policies. For example, through FP 2030, the Global Family Planning Partnership, the UK is supporting partners around the world to advocate for better access to family planning. The Global Financing Facility supports stronger, more sustainable access to health systems. The Women's Integrated Sexual Health Programme has supported more than 9.5 million women and girls in Africa and Asia to use modern methods of contraception. And the UK remains a world leader in efforts to end the AIDS epidemic, including through our health system strengthening work, our work to end preventable deaths, and through support to the World Health Organization and the Global Fund to fight AIDS, TB and malaria. We are pushing for equitable access to comprehensive sexual and reproductive health services, dismantling barriers to access, targeting underserved groups, and champion SRHR for all. I will, of course, give way.
Thank you. On the FP30 and the Women's Integrated Health, I wonder if the Minister could talk a little about the financial commitments that go along with the policy-leading commitments.
Minister.
What I can certainly say to the Honourable Lady is that we will do everything we can because, as she set out in her speech, this is a very high priority for the government. We will do everything we can to make sure these efforts are adequately resourced. The Foreign Office and other donors do, however, have to adapt our approach to ensure that financing to this work is sustainable. And this means placing accountable country leadership and investment at the heart of our development agenda. For example, the UK has provided over £200 million to the UNFPA Supplies Partnership since 2019 to improve the availability, quality and supply of life-saving reproductive health products, including family planning, safe abortion, about which she spoke extremely eloquently, and maternal health medicines. Over the last 2 years, the UNFPA Supplies Partnership has successfully secured domestic financing commitments from 43 low and middle income countries towards their own reproductive health supplies, totaling $26.4 million, many committing for the first time. The final element of our approach is ensuring that our efforts on sexual and reproductive health are fully integrated within our broader work to strengthen health systems. This was set out in our G7 Health Ministers' communiqué in May. We and the other member states committed to universal access to comprehensive health services at every stage of life, including maternal, sexual and reproductive health. In making this pledge, we recognise that these services are a vital part of achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And if I may conclude, Mr. Davis, we are acutely aware of the challenges we face in advancing this work, many of which were set out so eloquently by the Honourable Lady. Yes, I'm perorating rather than finishing, but of course I give way.
I know the Minister well. If I could ask him, if not to comment now, then if he could do some research when the ARCOG report into the benign gynecological conditions comes out, because I was genuinely shocked, Minister, to discover that it was killing more women than the other major diseases combined, and that we're not focused on that. If the Minister could make that commitment to look into it, I'd be extremely grateful.
Yes, I will certainly look into it, and I was extremely struck by what she said in her speech. about the scale and the comparison which she set out so clearly for the House. Mr Davis, despite these challenges, the UK continues to prioritise work on sexual and reproductive health and gender equality across the full span of our development and diplomatic work. This includes targeted support to reduce maternal mortality, determined efforts to reduce the rollback of SRHR and women and girls' rights, and work to secure sustainable financing. We will continue to advocate for the world's most marginalised and underserved people to secure rights and choices for all. And I want to emphasise, Mr Davis, finally, that in trying to understand how you make progress on international development, the aims that Britain seeks to drive forward, none of these things can be understood unless they are seen through the eyes of girls and women who suffer first and hardest from the extremes of poverty. And a particular aim of the government in respect of putting girls and women at the forefront of everything we do is to try to ensure that we get as many girls into school as we possibly can. And as I told the House this morning, in the last 5 years, for which figures are available, we were able to procure the education of more than 8 million girls. In focusing on family planning, ensuring that women have the ability to decide for themselves whether and when they have children, and in bearing down on sexual violence against women, all sexual violence, but particularly in the hideousness of conflict. And those three aspects of our policy, Mr Davis, help drive forward what we believe is the critical battle of our times, to try and do something about these appalling discrepancies of opportunity and wealth which disfigure our world today.
The question is that this House has considered sexual and reproductive health and rights and overseas aid as